They threw shade like confetti, hoping it would bury you. Now the same crowd is squinting under your spotlight. Didn't they say you peaked too early? Didn't they whisper you were too quiet to lead? Didn't they try to outshine you while making sure you had no light of your own? They made jokes while you were in the mud. They mocked your isolation, talked down on your healing, called you invisible, boring, too slow, too strange, too quiet, too deep. They thought your silence meant failure. They thought your disappearance meant defeat. But what they never realized was that you were never disappearing. You were developing. Before we continue, Chosen One, if this message is already piercing through the noise, like this video, subscribe, and drop 77 in the comments to signal the algorithm that this transmission is reaching the ones it's meant for. It helps spread this light to other chosen ones still sitting in the shadows, doubting their worth, wondering why the spotlight hasn't hit yet. This is not just another video. This is your moment of confirmation. They had the audacity to laugh while you were buried in the dark. They partied when you lost everything. They looked down on you while you were down. They labeled your healing weakness, your quiet, failure, your humility, irrelevance. But what they didn't see coming was that the one they cast aside was the lead character all along. You were never meant to fit into their script. You were meant to rewrite the entire show. You're the storm they laughed at, until it started knocking doors off their comfort zone. The same mouths that called you washed are now whispering behind your back, wondering how you made it to the front without even trying. Because let's be clear, you didn't chase this spotlight, it found you. Why? Because the universe always honors the souls who choose alignment over applause. See, you weren't just hidden, you were held in silence, held in struggle, held in that invisible wilderness where your character was sharpened while they were chasing likes and fake claps. They thought they were moving ahead, didn't they? Flexing on borrowed blessings, performing in masks, living in noise. But you stayed quiet. You stayed consistent, you stayed dangerous, because you stayed unseen. And now the stage is turning, the spotlight is shifting, and guess who it's landing on? You, the one they counted out. You, the one they left out of the plans. You, the one they only saw as a maybe. You are now the main event, and what makes this even sweeter? You're not just rising, you're rising with substance. You've got the scars, the silence, the stillness, the soul maturity that none of them ever took the time to develop. They put you on the bench thinking the game was over for you. But now, you're not just playing, you're the MVP. You didn't just survive the cave, you became the fire in it. You didn't just go missing, you went deeper. You built stamina in silence. While they needed noise to be seen, you became so powerful that your very presence now shifts the energy of every room you walk into. And make no mistake, they feel it. They feel the shift. They feel the glow. They feel the weight of what's coming. And they know they can't match it, because the real ones are forged, not fabricated. You weren't sculpted for popularity, you were built for purpose. And now, that purpose is so loud, it doesn't need words. You're about to show the world what happens when a soul obeys the signal instead of the system. You are the scene they'll pause and rewind. You are the shift they never saw coming. You are the reminder that divine timing never rushes, but never fails. You're not finally becoming someone. You've been that someone. The world is just now catching up. So, chosen one, remember this. You don't have to beg for attention when your presence is already prophecy. You don't have to scream when your silence has been screaming truth the whole time. You don't need a stage to validate you, because your very existence commands the stage. The show is about to start, and this time, you're not sitting in the crowd. You're not clapping for others. You're not questioning your worth. You're walking out and stealing the entire show. Let them choke on their old opinions. Let them stare in confusion. Let them wonder how you did it. Because while they were watching the wrong stars, you were becoming the galaxy. And chosen one, don't even think about leaving now. That was just the first spark. The real explosion is about to begin. If you've ever felt like you were underestimated, misread, or placed in the background while others took your credit, then what's coming next was tailored for your soul. So drop 77 in the comments if you know you didn't come this far just to blend in. If you feel that spotlight turning, if you know your moment is arriving, claim it right now. And if this message is waking something up in you, hit like and subscribe, because that small click signals YouTube that more chosen ones need this light too. Every share, every super thanks, every single action keeps this mission alive and spreading. This isn't about going viral. This is about going vertical, straight up, no gimmicks, no pretending, just raw truth that shakes the ones it was sent for. So take a deep breath, because we're just getting started. And now, let's break it down step by step. And believe me, if you're really chosen, something in your gut won't let you click away. Let's go steal the whole show. Number 1, they tried to make you an extra. Now you're the entire plotline. They tried to crop you out of the picture. Now the whole scene looks empty without you. They had the nerve to look you in the eye and tell you to stay in your lane, to play it small, to act humble in the face of mediocrity. They thought you'd accept being a prop in someone else's performance, thought you'd sit quiet in the back row, clapping politely while they fumbled their way through center stage. But they didn't realize they were never the lead. You were. You weren't born to blend in. You were born to be the moment they replay in slow motion. The scene that hits differently. The one that makes people sit up straight and whisper, "Wait, who was that?" They tried to write you out, but chosen ones don't follow scripts written by insecure directors. You rewrite the plot by showing up exactly how they feared you would. Unapologetically bold, divinely timed, and impossible to ignore. They called you too much. Translation, you didn't shrink for their comfort. They labeled you hard to work with. Translation, you didn't let them direct your destiny. They said you were just an extra, but the second you exited the room, the whole energy dropped. You've always been the scene stealer, even when you weren't trying. Remember those moments where you walked in and suddenly the room got quiet? That wasn't awkwardness, that was impact. That was energy announcing itself before your mouth even opened. They tried to downplay that glow, hoping you'd dim yourself to fit in. But they forgot one thing: stars don't shrink, they burn. And you, chosen one, are the kind of burn that reshapes the sky. They made backroom deals trying to sabotage your storyline, whispered lies, spread rumors, undermined your credibility. But here's the twist: they underestimated how the universe works. What they buried became your soil. What they mocked became your magnetism. The very pain they thought would break you. It became the ink you now use to rewrite the entire script. Have you ever seen a movie where the real hero doesn't show up until halfway through and suddenly the entire story shifts? That's you. You're that twist no one saw coming. You're the reveal that makes the audience gasp. You're the force that turns predictable into unforgettable, and that scares them. Because the chosen one doesn't rise in silence forever. At some point, the curtain lifts, and here's what they never saw coming. All those years you were silent, suffering, sharpening in secret. That was rehearsal. All those moments you were isolated, abandoned, overlooked. That was spiritual training. All those times they chose someone else over you, that was the setup. Now, you're about to steal the entire show. Think of Keanu Reeves, laughed at, dismissed, misunderstood. But the moment John Wick dropped, the entire narrative changed. Not because he shouted louder, but because he stayed real while others played roles. Think of Jennifer Hudson, voted off American Idol. They told her no, the public told her no, but the universe whispered, not yet. And when Dreamgirls hit, she didn't just act, she devoured the screen. She became the show. That's the power of being chosen. You're not made to rise with applause, you rise with pressure. You're not handed roles, you create roles. You don't perform to be seen, you exist to be felt. You're not the underdog, you're the plot twist. And some of you are wondering right now, but why did they treat me like this? Why did it take so long? Because the universe had to let their egos go first. It had to let them build up their pride, their illusions of power, their fake spotlight. So when your moment arrived, the contrast would be undeniable. You are about to walk into rooms where the same people who whispered behind your back are now silent in your presence. You'll walk into spaces where they once laughed at your dream, and now they can't take their eyes off your reality. And when they ask, how? You won't need to explain, because chosen ones don't audition for recognition. You become it. And here's what will hurt them most. You won't even be trying. You won't walk in with vengeance. You'll walk in with vision. You won't speak to prove a point. You'll be the point. You'll look like peace, but your presence will hit like prophecy. And let's talk facts. They tried to erase you. From friend circles, from opportunities, from conversations. They passed you up, chose watered-down copies, boosted people who had the look but not the legacy. They forgot. Imitation might get you applause, but only authenticity commands respect. You are the scene no one rehearsed for, the moment that can't be faked. The proof that purpose waits for no one. You're the hidden draft that was never meant to stay hidden. And now, as your light breaks through, watch their faces. Watch how they try to act like they always supported you. Watch how they try to mimic what they once mocked. Watch how they shrink in the presence of the one they tried to replace. They thought they could cast you out, but the universe made you the main character. And now they're realizing, without you, the whole story falls flat. They built their stage on lies. You built your legacy on truth. They played dress-up. You did the soul work. They chased roles. You became the revelation. You're not here for applause. You're here for alignment. So when that spotlight swings and they see you standing center stage, don't flinch. This was always yours. This was always coming, because they tried to make you an extra dash. But you are the entire plot line. Number 2, they laughed while you were rehearsing. Now they're glued to your glow-up. They mocked the silence, not realizing silence was the sound of you sharpening your crown. They laughed, oh how they laughed, at your slow climb, at your absence, at your silence. They mistook your stillness for stagnation, your solitude for shame, your private rehearsals for public failure. They assumed, because they couldn't see you, you were losing. But chosen one, you weren't losing. You were loading. They called you invisible, irrelevant, forgettable. But what they forgot is this: every storm starts silent. every earthquake starts underground, and every chosen one rises while the crowd is distracted. They laughed while you were rehearsing, but now they're glued to your glow-up like it's the final scene in a blockbuster. Suddenly, your silence is magnetic. Your walk is commanding. Your presence untouchable. Because when you show up, fully formed, refined by fire, and too evolved to be explained, they don't know whether to clap, copy, or cry. They thought you were gone for good. Nah. You were in the lab. You were backstage with the universe, rewriting the script they tried to bury you in. You were crafting the masterpiece they now can't take their eyes off. And now that the curtain's rising, their jaws on the floor, and you're the reason. They mocked the process, not knowing the process was the prophecy. They mocked your quiet season. Where'd she go? What's he even doing with his life? They said you were washed, irrelevant, late. But baby, you were never late. You were in alignment, and while they were loud on stage, you were in the shadows, learning how to build your own. See, they assumed glow-ups were instant, but you knew better. You knew the real ones build in silence. And when you finally emerge, it's not a comeback, it's a takeover. You're not just glowing, you're glowing with receipts. They laughed at your vision, but now that it's manifesting, they suddenly respect it. They scoffed at your boundaries, but now they see it was those very boundaries that preserved your power. They rolled their eyes at your healing journey until they saw how your healed version doesn't flinch in the face of their noise. Do you remember those nights where it felt like no one saw you? Where you questioned why you were putting in the work, sacrificing, growing, letting go of things you used to love just to stay in alignment? Where you cried alone after doing the right thing and it looked like the wrong one? Yeah, that was the process. That was the pruning. That was the private class the universe enrolled you in. While they were out performing for applause, you were developing real depth. You weren't hiding, you were honing. And now look, they can't take their eyes off you. You walked back in, not loud, not arrogant, but so transformed that it disrupted the entire energy. Your glow-up wasn't just physical, it was spiritual. You carry the weight of wisdom, scars, and stillness. You don't have to say much. You are the message. It's like walking back into the room that rejected you and realizing you don't even need their approval anymore. They doubted your timing, but the universe didn't. The Creator didn't. The glow-up always hits hardest when it's earned in silence. Think of Brendan Fraser, blacklisted, forgotten, laughed at. But behind the scenes, he was healing, rebuilding. And when he re-emerged, Oscar in hand, it was like the universe whispered, "Told you he wasn't done." Or look at Simone Biles. Took time off. They questioned her commitment. But when she returned, she redefined greatness. Because real power rests, then returns harder. That's you now. They laughed. Now they're locked in. They ridiculed your quiet. Now they can't stop replaying your roar. And let's not sugarcoat it. This glow-up is hurting some people, not because you did anything wrong, but because your evolution exposes their stagnation. Because your healing highlights their bitterness. Because your rise reminds them of the work they refused to do. And that's why it's awkward now, isn't it? They don't know how to talk to you. They're trying to act like they always saw it. But you remember the ghosting, the whispers, the shade masked as advice. You remember when they rolled their eyes at your dreams, when they laughed at your vision board, when they called you too deep, too intense, too much. You remember. And yet, you're still glowing, still rising, still walking with grace while they watch with guilt. Because that's what chosen ones do. They don't clap back, they climb back, not out of spite, out of strategy, because the most brutal revenge is not revenge at all. It's the soft smile of someone who made it without them. You didn't force this spotlight. You earned it through discipline, through detours, through divine patience. You let the universe time your entrance, and now it's clear this moment was tailor-made for you. And chosen one, let's be honest. Some people are only clapping now because they can't deny it anymore. They're not celebrating you. They're shocked you survived. They're not cheering you on. They're trying to understand how you pulled this off. But you don't owe them explanations. Let them wonder. Because your glow-up is not just success. It's confirmation. Confirmation that what they tried to silence was sacred. Confirmation that what they mocked was magnetic. Confirmation that the time they thought they wasted watching you fail was really them witnessing the formation of something they'll never replicate. Like a storm that brewed off-screen, you've now arrived with divine precision, and they're stuck in the splash zone. So keep glowing, chosen one. Let the silence that built you echo through every room you now walk into. You are the show. You are the shift. And this glow up? This is the trailer they never saw coming, and the full movie hasn't even started yet. Number 3, they wanted you silenced because they knew you'd steal every scene. They weren't threatened by your volume. They were terrified of your impact. They didn't try to silence you because you were loud. They tried to silence you because you were powerful. Understand this. If your voice didn't carry truth, they wouldn't have tried so hard to shut it down. You didn't even have to speak. Your existence was already too loud for their insecurity. They saw it before you did. That's why they tried to dim your light early. It wasn't the noise you made. It was the energy you carried. You walked into rooms, and without saying a word, people adjusted their posture. Eyes shifted. Smiles faded. You felt it, didn't you? That tension. That quiet resistance. The way some people looked annoyed when you simply showed up. Why? Because you don't need to yell to make noise. You don't need to beg to be noticed. Your glow is not negotiable. Your spirit is disruptive. And in a world full of actors wearing masks, your authenticity is a full-blown alarm bell. A fire alarm doesn't need to shout when the smoke is already thick. And you, chosen one, you've been setting off smoke detectors everywhere you go, because your truth reveals their games. Your presence burns through illusions. And they knew if the world ever heard you clearly, they'd lose control of the entire script. That's why they mocked your silence. That's why they ignored your work. That's why they whispered behind closed doors, because they couldn't mute what the universe already amplified. Some of them pretended not to see you. Others tried to bury your name. But guess what? Soil is where seeds go. And now you're blooming out the same dirt they tried to bury you in. You're not here to impress the background cast. You're here to shake the foundation of the entire scene. Let them stay uncomfortable. Let them squirm in your silence. Because silence doesn't mean small. It means strategic. The universe gave you a voice that was never meant for echo chambers. It was meant to pierce the air. And now they hear it. They feel it. They can't unsee you. And you haven't even delivered your main line yet. Keep going. Number 4, you weren't left out. You were being positioned for the entrance nobody could ignore. Late doesn't exist when the universe is choreographing your arrival. They called you late, laughed like you missed the moment, acted like your name was erased from the credits before you ever hit the screen. But what they didn't realize, you weren't waiting, you were being positioned. You weren't in the background because you lacked value. You were being sharpened, trained in silence, built in stillness. While they were performing for likes, you were learning how to own the moment. You didn't rush into the scene. You studied the rhythm. You learned the shadows. You waited for the exact beat the universe reserved for your entrance. Now, the room is noisy, the actors are tired, the plot is worn out, and just when they think the story's gone flat, you show up. No forced applause, no flashy intro, just pure, undeniable presence. You're that kind of actor who doesn't need a drum roll, the kind of soul who walks in and the atmosphere shifts. That hush that falls over a room when the real story begins. That's your energy. It doesn't announce itself. It commands the scene. They mistook your patience for passivity, but chess players don't panic while pawns dance. You watched them burn themselves out, trying to be seen. You waited until they turned their backs. Now you're stepping in as the only one worth watching. Your delay wasn't a mistake. It was choreography, and while they celebrated too early, the universe was setting your mark center stage. Let them think they had the spotlight. Let them assume they wrote the final scene, because now you're walking in with gravity. No noise, no gimmicks, just you and the silent roar of right timing. You're not here to play catch-up. You're here to flip the script. So when they ask, "Where have you been?" smile, because you were never missing the scene. You are the scene they didn't see coming, and now you've arrived. Not late, just perfectly placed. The entrance unforgettable, the timing unmatched, and the show, it just began. Number 5. You're the plot twist that destroys every lie they built around you. They wrote you off in Act 1, but you're flipping the script in Act 3. They thought they had you figured out, thought they could reduce your entire existence to rumors, whispers, and lies told in dim rooms. They didn't just gossip, they wrote full screenplays about you, casting themselves as heroes and making your silence look like guilt. But what they forgot? This wasn't their story to tell. And just because they yelled the loudest doesn't mean they were ever telling the truth. You were never the villain in their twisted version. You were the reveal, the plot twist, the uncomfortable truth the entire storyline couldn't survive. They built fake chapters around your name, thinking your absence meant approval. They spread lies like confetti, thinking it would bury your essence. But truth doesn't stay buried, not when the universe has receipts. And baby, your arrival is tearing up the entire script. Now they're watching the real you step out. Not the version they mocked, not the version they fabricated, but the version they never wanted people to meet. You are the deleted scene they hoped would never resurface, the proof they tried to erase, the truth that burns holes through their fiction with every breath you take. You don't need revenge. You are the reversal. They made you the punchline, but now you're the turning point. And the universe, it's letting the whole theater watch as your presence breaks the fourth wall and exposes everything they tried to hide. Let them squirm. Let them pretend they didn't say what they said. Because now, your life is speaking louder than their lies ever could. Your glow is undeniable. Your comeback wasn't even rehearsed. It was destined. Every win you rack up is a contradiction to the labels they tried to pin on you. Every room that celebrates you now is a reminder to them. Truth has a better memory than gossip. So walk tall. You are not the rumor. You are not the version they invented. You are the twist in the tale, the truth in the silence, the line that redefines the entire story and the show. It's still going, but now it's your story they have to sit through. Number 6. They cling to costumes. You walk in as the real story. Authenticity terrifies those who've built entire identities on applause. They spent their lives tailoring costumes, faking strength, mimicking light, posing in borrowed confidence. They don't walk in rooms, they perform in them. Their smiles are rehearsed, their compliments are scripted. Their charisma is plastic, polished, and painfully performative. And then you walk in. No mask, no character, no need to convince anyone of anything. Just you, real, raw, unrehearsed, and suddenly the whole stage starts shaking. Because when the truth enters the room, every liar gets nervous, every actor stumbles on their lines, and every mask starts slipping without a single word being said. See, you don't have to expose anybody. Your presence does it for you. Your authenticity is disruptive because it reveals the one thing they've spent their whole lives trying to avoid: being seen. While they chase claps, you carry clarity. While they dress for roles, you dress in purpose. And that's exactly why you make them uncomfortable, because you feel real. And real is something they can't duplicate, no matter how loud they get or how well they perform. They studied charisma, you embody it. They memorized lines, you speak from spirit. You're the unscripted moment that throws off the entire production, a walking interruption to every illusion they've been trying to protect. You didn't come to fit in with the cast. You came to reveal the truth of the scene. That's why you were underestimated, because you weren't flashy, overhyped, or exaggerated. You didn't audition for fake roles. You just showed up in your light, and it turned every actor into a shadow. You're not here for costumes. You're here for legacy. You're not performing, you're becoming. So let them cling to their applause. Let them keep perfecting their fake personas. You don't need their scripts. You don't need their props. And you don't need their roles. You are the story. And the moment you enter the frame, the truth becomes undeniable, because real can't be faked. And you, chosen one, you are the truth they never rehearsed for, and that's why they can't stand the light you carry. Number 7. They spent so long dismissing you, they didn't see you becoming unstoppable. The most dangerous character is the one who doesn't need permission to evolve. They were too busy underestimating you to notice the shift. Too busy gossiping, watching, laughing, to realize you were transforming right in front of their blindfolded eyes. They were focused on your last chapter, stuck on who you used to be. But you, chosen one, you were busy writing the next scene in silence. They dismissed you like a background character. But here's the irony. They became so obsessed with your downfall, they missed the entire plot twist. You were never staying down to begin with. While they clung to ego, you studied endurance. While they celebrated your losses, you were building quiet momentum. And now they're realizing too late. You didn't need their permission. You never needed their applause. You needed the isolation, the rejection, the silence, because that's where the metamorphosis happened. You didn't evolve to prove them wrong. You evolved because it was already written. It was destined. While they mocked the cocoon, you were becoming the kind of force that doesn't just survive the scene, it steals it. You are the kind of character who makes the audience gasp. The kind who shows up in Act 3 and makes everyone forget who the movie was even supposed to be about. They thought they'd written you out, but your glow-up wasn't for them. It was for the universe. And now you move like someone who has nothing to prove, but everything to show. They don't know how to react, because you're not begging, announcing, or asking. You're just becoming. That's why they're quiet now. That's why the room changes when you enter. That's why the very people who dismissed you now replay your every move like a film they can't stop watching. Because while they laughed, you leveled up. While they judged, you journeyed through fire, and while they stayed the same, you became unrecognizable. So don't look back to explain. Don't break your stride to convince them. Let them sit in their own silence, the same silence they once used to mock you. Because now the scene is yours, and they'll never forget the one they didn't see coming. Number 8. You're not competing. You're commanding attention without even trying. Presence beats performance, and your presence just stole the scene. They tried to make it a race, a contest, a game of noise and numbers, but you weren't even playing. You were never competing. You were commanding, and the moment you stepped in, without effort, without announcement, the whole room shifted. Because energy like yours doesn't ask to be seen, it demands to be felt. While they rehearsed the perfect lines, you became the unscripted truth. While they polished their performances, you walked in raw, real, and untouchable. And the crowd, they didn't cheer for the one who begged for the spotlight. They froze for the one who was the spotlight without trying. You're the stillness in the storm, the moment in the movie where the music drops and everyone leans in. You don't need lights to shine. You're the reason the lights matter in the first place. Let them keep trying to go viral. Let them chase applause, awards, aesthetics, because no filter can replicate presence, no stage trick can mimic depth, and no performance can compete with someone who moves in alignment with the universe itself. This is why you've always felt different, why people stare without knowing why some love you instantly and others hate you without cause, because your energy exposes. It highlights the fake. It reveals the empty. It makes people look at themselves. And that kind of impact? That can't be copied. The ones who always needed the mic suddenly feel invisible next to your silence. The ones who sought validation now scramble to compete with the vibe you carry just by breathing. That's the kind of weight only a chosen one can hold. You were never meant to outshine them by force. You were meant to outclass them by simply being. That's why people talk when you leave the room. That's why you trigger envy from those who've spent years trying to master what you were born with. Don't dim it. Don't shrink to blend in. You didn't train in shadows just to play it safe in the light. The universe didn't shape your glow through isolation just to have you hide it behind humility. Stand still and they'll trip over their own need for attention, because you're not fighting for the lead. You are the scene they'll never forget. Number 9. You carry a frequency that makes the entire stage malfunction. Some spirits don't need scripts. They are the power source. Let's be honest, some rooms started glitching the second you walked in. People forgot their lines. Their rehearsed personas began to crumble. Fake confidence turned into fidgeting. The spotlight began flickering. Why? Because your energy isn't just seen, it's felt. And some stages were never built to handle a soul like yours. You carry a frequency that can't be faked, filtered, or rehearsed. It's not personality, it's not charisma, it's not branding, it's truth. And truth doesn't sit politely. It disturbs the lies around it. It exposes the act. It crashes the entire performance. You're the static that ruins their broadcast, the raw signal that disrupts every carefully curated scene. You're the glitch in their perfect little matrix, and they hate you for it, because your very presence makes it obvious how much of them is a performance. See, you don't need a microphone to be heard. You don't need lights to be seen. Your aura alone rewrites the script. And that terrifies the ones who have built their identity on being liked, not being real. They can't rehearse around you. You change the frequency of the room just by existing, like walking into a silent theater and suddenly all the spotlights flicker toward you without you even asking. Because your presence isn't performance, it's power. This is why they whisper when you arrive, why they avoid eye contact, why they rush to take control of the narrative. Because deep down, they know one word from you can destroy the illusion they spent years crafting. One look from you can unravel their entire script. You don't speak often, but when you do, it feels like someone cut the background music and handed the mic to the truth. You don't interrupt the program. You are the emergency broadcast. And the worst part for them, you're not even trying. You're not throwing shade. You're not making noise. You're not in competition. You're just being aligned, and that alone makes the entire stage start short-circuiting. So let them fumble, let the lights flicker, let their scripts fall apart. Because when the stage malfunctions, the world finally sees what was real all along. You. Number 10. They can't play the role of chosen anymore because the real one just showed up. You don't audition for what was encoded in your spirit. They called themselves the One. They posted like it, bragged like it, performed like it, built entire personas off the look, the language, the illusion of being chosen, while the real one was out of frame, becoming undeniable in silence. They had the costume, you carry the crown. They studied the script, you are the script. That's the difference. And now that you've walked in, the room knows it. Their performances are falling apart. Their borrowed light is dimming. The role they pretended to play is disintegrating because the one who never needed the spotlight to shine just showed up. You weren't busy proving. You were busy preparing. You didn't need to post about your anointing. You let your alignment announce it. While they tried to wear your energy like a borrowed outfit, you became the walking blueprint. The soul so real, so raw, so rooted, that no impersonation could survive beside it. The fake version collapses the moment the real one enters. Because no matter how much they study your mannerisms, mimic your voice, or imitate your presence, frequency can't be faked. They spoke in buzzwords, you speak in vibration. They memorized lines about healing, you bled for that wisdom. They wore the crown for show. You earned it in silence, in isolation, in spiritual war they couldn't survive 5 minutes in. Now their act is exposed. The room can feel the difference. You walk in and the temperature shifts. The energy rearranges itself around your presence. The people who used to clap for the costume are now staring at you like, wait, this is what it was supposed to feel like all along. You are the scene stealer they didn't cast, the energy they couldn't copy, the force they can't explain. And this is why their spotlight is flickering, because the stage was built for you all along. They just tried to occupy it before your entrance. But the universe doesn't honor performance. It honors purpose, and your arrival was encoded in divine timing. So let them shrink. Let the imposters quietly exit stage left, because now the real one's here, and the audience can feel it. Number 11. You are the story the audience didn't know they needed. You're not here to impress, you're here to impact, and that changes everything. You didn't come here to entertain, you came here to awaken. They were comfortable watching recycled storylines, empty heroes, scripted villains, fake love arcs. But the moment you stepped into the scene, everything changed. The screen got sharper, the atmosphere thickened, the story got real. Because when the chosen one enters, the plot aligns. You don't have to yell to be heard. Your voice vibrates. You don't need a crowd to feel valid. Your spirit echoes. That's why, when you speak, the room leans in, the air shifts, the silence becomes electric. People stop scrolling, they stop faking, they feel something they didn't know they were missing: truth. You are not a supporting character. You are the climax, the pause, the part that makes people sit up and say, "That's it. That's what I've been waiting for." Your presence is a plot twist they didn't see coming, but now they can't look away. Not because you're trying to be the center, but because everything else suddenly feels off-center next to your authenticity. The ones who faked their way into relevance, they're feeling irrelevant now, because your existence exposes what's real and what's just well-rehearsed noise. You don't just say words, you transmit energy, you don't perform emotions, you pierce people with presence. And that's why even those who tried to overlook you can't unsee you now. Your light broke through the lens. Your truth broke the fourth wall. You are what happens when silence gets tired of being polite, when power stops playing small, when the real story shows up unannounced and flips the whole script. Some people are magnetic because they're polished, but you're magnetic because you're real. That's why they feel you before they understand you. That's why you're being remembered while they're still trying to be noticed. You're not just a vibe, you're a shift. The audience didn't even know they needed you, but now they can't breathe without your frequency. The narrative didn't make sense until your entrance. The story didn't matter until your truth rewrote the tone. You are not an act. You are the awakening, and that's why the universe gave you the role nobody else could play. Number 12. You were born for this scene, and the universe is about to cue the spotlight. This isn't your big break. This is your return. They thought you were gone, forgotten, replaced. But that's only because they don't understand how power moves in silence. You weren't absent. You were being summoned. You weren't overlooked. You were under divine construction. The truth is, they built the whole stage thinking they were the star. They rehearsed, they performed, they tried to steal scenes that were never theirs to begin with. But now, the house lights are dimming, the room is getting still. The crowd can feel it. Something real is about to walk in. Chosen one, this is the part the universe saved for you. You're not walking in trying to make it. You are it. This isn't a debut. This is a divine cue, and you're stepping into a moment that's been waiting on your frequency. While they clung to costumes, you cultivated character. While they begged for claps, you became the clarity. They called it a comeback. But how do you come back to a show you never left? You were always the storyline. They just didn't have the eyes to see it. And now, the lights are shifting, the universe is pulling the curtain, and you are standing center stage, not by accident, not even by effort, but by alignment. Let the crowd whisper, let them rewind old scenes and re-watch their roles. Because the moment you speak, the whole production shifts, the real narrative begins, the script flips, and the illusions fall apart. Because you, chosen one, are not the surprise ending. You are the reason the story was ever worth watching. You didn't beg for this. You were built for this. You didn't chase fame. Fame had your name on the call sheet the entire time. It just had to catch up to your timing. So now, let them watch. Let them gasp. Let them finally recognize what you carry. Because this moment, this spotlight, it was never a lucky break. It was a cosmic reckoning. And when the scene fades and the credits roll, they won't remember who tried to fake it. They'll remember you. And now that the curtain's closing on this message, let the truth settle in your spirit. You were never a side character. You are the story. They tried to write you off, silence your power, and dim your glow. But the universe just flipped the spotlight, and all eyes are exactly where they belong, on you. This is your time, your energy, your era. Let it be known. If this message hit your soul like it was written just for you, drop 77 in the comments, like this video, subscribe, and share it to help awaken more chosen ones. The stage is yours now.